situation where you find that a person look at the same,
not necessarily tribal or regional.
but I have said that.
All right, welcome back. If you are just joining us, this is Daybreak on Trust Television, reaching you live from our studios here in the nation's capital city, Abuja. Now let's take a look at some of the stories making headlines on the dailies this morning, starting with the Daily Trust newspaper. The lead story there, Nigerians to pay more taxes, tariffs. That's according to the federal government, and the riders, prices of drinks, tobacco, stamp duty to rise. Subsidy removal, additional taxes would aggravate economic woes. That's according to experts. And on page 29 of the Daily Trust newspaper, Obasanjo to Nigerians, don't expect anything more from Buhari. And on page 18, you'd see federal government rakes in 227 billion naira as MTN Mafab win 5G license. Still on page 29, you'd find COVID-19 unvaccinated corps members barred from NYC camps. You'd also see on page 6 of the Daily Trust newspaper, declare state of emergency on terrorist enclaves. Tambuwal urges President Buhari. And on page 31, you see 20 killed in Bauchi auto crashes. Like Facebook, Zoom to start charging 7.5% VAT from Nigerian users. On page 4, you'd see Nigeria, UAE lose millions daily as diplomatic road deepens. More airlines reject Nigerian passengers to Dubai. You'd also see among the riders, countries pushing for self-interest, says Dawn, and consultations ongoing. That's according to Foreign Affairs Ministry. These are some of the stories on the Daily Trust newspaper.
All right, let's take a look at the Punch this morning, and the lead story there talks about 3,125 killed, 2,703 abducted in 11 months. VIPs knock federal government. You'd find that on page 2 with the riders. Match words with action. All not well. Obasanjo, Sultan, ACF, others tell FG. Buhari prefers traveling abroad to visiting victims of banditry, says Northern Khan. Nigeria must trash 1999 constitution to overcome security challenges, Gani Adams. And then you would also see the picture there showing you suspected miscreants, hoodlums and drug peddlers posing as Okada riders during an enforcement operation at the 7th Avenue, Festac Town, Lagos, by members of the Lagos State Environmental and Special Offense Unit yesterday on Monday. You would also find other stories there saying, police grill journalists for 7 hours over anti-corruption story. Professionals present 22 million naira equity government from fee to Bamidele, senator confident. Senator is confident, yes. And that's on page 19. The next story, student set ablaze by attackers being forced to join cult. And that's Uniosun. And that's on page 5. Then the next one at the bottom, NYC makes vaccination compulsory for prospective corps members in 2022. Osun farmer released in Ekiti Forest. Abductors collect cash, cigarettes and drinks. A strike will be indefinite, won't end until an agreement, until all agreements are fulfilled. That's according to ASU. So these are the stories that made the headlines this morning on The Punch.
Okay, let's take a look at some other stories on the Nation newspaper this morning. The lead story there, travel ban. Nigeria, UAE diplomatic row escalates. And the riders, Airlines ordered not to fly Nigerians into Dubai. Flight bans will be sorted next week. On page 1 of the Nation newspaper, Lowell, 13 million naira, 8 million naira allowances not enough for lawmakers. Oh, wow. You find the details of that story on page 1 of the Nation newspaper. You'd also see NNPC plans gas supply increase to crush price. And on page 3, you'd find MTN Nigeria, Mafab wins spectrum to deploy 5G. Bandits kill 10 in fresh attack on community. These are some of the lead stories on the Nation newspaper.
All right, let's take a look at The Guardian. This morning, we're leading with the story that says travel ban. FG puts retaliation on hold as row with UAE gets messier. You'd also see the writers, government, we are initiating diplomatic steps to resolve restrictions with UK, Canada, Saudi Arabia. UK to reduce travel restrictions, scrap red list this week. Consider impact of reciprocity actions on businesses, SMEs. Yusuf advises federal government. Fully vaccinated South African president tests positive for COVID-19 after visits to Abuja. So, well, talking about the effectiveness, of the vaccines now, this is also raising questions there. Buhari sends get well message to Ramaphosa, urges Nigerians to get vaccinated. Britain reports first Omicron death. 496 Nigerians receive booster shots, and then there you'll see below that the pictures of leaders of Nigeria and UK, and then you see also stop politicizing insecurity. Obasanjo, Sultan, others warn leaders. EFCC, NYC ban unvaccinated employees, core members. Nigeria issues 5G licenses to 2 operators. You see also 10 killed, several injured as bandits storm market in Plateau community. Wike sacks health commissioner for hosting dental council without approval. So these are the major stories today on the dailies.
Okay.
Like we told you, we have Ben Shemang in the studio, Director Training from Voice of Nigeria. Good morning and welcome to the program.
Thank you very much. My pleasure.
Yes.
All right. And now let's begin, with the lead story on the Daily Trust newspaper that states Nigerians to pay more taxes, tariff, according to the federal government. Now, the federal government is saying that the taxes and the tariffs realized will be used to fund, important infrastructure like health and education. But experts are saying this is not a right move at this time. What are your thoughts about that?
Yes, I want to juxtapose that. I want to put it side by side. The news coming from the Senate President. Allowances, senators, 13 million. Reps members, 8 million. That is not enough for them. Now we're also having that on the other side, the federal government saying tariffs, taxes are not enough, therefore they have to be jacked up. We pray that they target luxury goods. What are these luxury goods? We can do without cigarettes. Tax it very well. All those who have jets parked at the airports, they are not servicing the nation. Tax that very well. But a situation where you begin to increase even market rates. Someone wants to enter a community market to sell a cock, chicken, sell grains. You tax them. And when you even look at, before you even enter the market, some security agencies, especially market days, check when you see motorcycles coming in. You begin to collect illegal taxes here and there. That should be stopped. Yes, the federal government can actually increase taxes on luxury goods, but not those that help to sustain the daily living of the common Nigerians. Beer, yes, you can see that, yes, people get frustrated, no jobs, no this, but you don't see beer industries closing down. Why is it so? We can tax them so that we can also reduce this consumption. So all those things that are just luxury that you can do even without, I think they should be taxed. But you can't tax water purification, water sanitization and all that. You don't increase tariff on water because it's commonly used by everybody. But cigarette is not a common commodity for everybody to use.
All right. Well, it's very important that we, look at that, vis-a-vis the proposal to remove the fuel subsidy as well, in the coming year. So you have this, increase in taxes, and then we're also taking off the fuel subsidy. Isn't it double wahala, if I may?
As we said in Nigeria.
Yes, if I may use that.
And that's why there's always this, when you ban a commodity from entering into Nigeria, then there has to be import substitution. You are substituting it with what? That you are producing back home. Okay, you say we are going to ban importation of rice, for example. Therefore, let us have a KB Lagos rice, Leke rice, so to speak. But you can see what the herders, farmers clashes are also entailing in terms of food security. So when we're talking of subsidy or no subsidy, first of all, like I said, when you say you are banning import, then there has to be substitution back home. Our refineries operating at optimal level, because if you check, they don't. And if therefore you're going to remove a subsidy, I mean, it's like you go buy a gallon of petrol in town, you go to the village, you bought it 5 naira, and you go to the village and now sell it 2 naira. Of course, you're going to be at a loss, surely. And therefore, to stem that or to control it, let the refineries simply work. If we want to make more money, we can export this money to West African countries and many other countries in Africa. Yes, it is doable. It can do it. We can do it.
All right, other issues on the papers that we're looking at, we're seeing the issue of the COVID-19 vaccine is causing a lot of restrictions here and there. Core members are being barred from entering the camps, restrictions on Nigeria from foreign countries. This greatly is going to lead to loss. I mean, we're already losing millions of naira daily, as a result of this restriction, talking about UAE, UK, Canada, and the rest of them. What's the implication of this, for our economy?
For our economy, honestly, it's going to suffer. It's going to suffer, definitely. Because this Yuletide period, people come in, people go out. And Britain in particular, you can imagine the number of Nigerians that go to that place for vacation. Just like Nigeria too, you can imagine how many people who come in for vacation. So the diplomatic route, they should settle that as fast as possible. After all, a phone call can make a difference. You are talking of United Arab Emirates. You can see, look, the way they've opened that place. This is an Arab nation, but you can see that the Israeli Prime Minister, as we are talking, is in that country right now. They're talking of diplomacy. Those days that brothers are on their jugular veins trying to kill one another, to them it's over. We're talking of survival. Let human beings survive. Enmity of the past should not be the thing. And if United Arab Emirates is a kind of a center for commerce, and we think that Nigeria can participate and also bring in investment from those areas. I mean, look at the aviation. Therefore, I think we should not just stick to our guns. No, I will not shift an inch. And they say no, they will shift an inch. It doesn't augur well in terms of development, in terms of trade, in terms of relationship, in terms of goods being ferried here and there, and of course it entails on humanity. When we say there's no permanent friend, not permanent enemy, we're talking of existence, survival, of nations, survival of citizens, and therefore I think there should be that symbiotic relationship, give and take. Give me, I take, and I also give you, you take.
Just as you've earlier mentioned, we both need each other, to survive. But some experts are saying that these decisions, taken by both Nigeria and the UAE is in the interest, of both our countries.
Sure, when you look at this coronavirus and the new variant, Omicron, I mean, Nigerians will have to just be on the guard. If truly it is that serious, of course, and that's why the National Youth Service Corps is saying no vaccination, no service. So that tells you they have to do it. But again, you still have people who are so strict when it comes to their religion. They are sticking on to it, believing that, look, it's the end time. All this kind of a thing, if we take it, it's going to be, Antichrist, or it's just the end of the world. It is not so. See religious leaders who indeed are preachers to you, they are taking them. So, co-members, let's live. And if therefore it's going to affect some other people, that's why the government is saying, if you don't have the certificate, you can't go in. But I frown at the casting of a headline, South African President Cyril Ramaphosa falls sick or is positive after visiting Nigeria. It's because he visited Nigeria that he contracted
it in Nigeria.
Yes, you can interpret it, and yes, after the visit, he went and got it back home. Or it was when he came in here that he got it. The headline, I think, has some subtle meanings that sometimes some people could frown at.
All right, now let's talk about yet another very interesting story. We are seeing that states lost a beat to stop the federal government from deducting the $418 million bailout from state allocations, as being advocated, I would say, fought for by the federal government. What's the implication of this on state revenues? We seem to be on the edge when it comes to revenue, especially at the state level. So these deductions, what's your thought around this?
Well, the federal government is not Father Christmas. If government gave you a kind of a soft loan, if government aided you so that you can invest, so that people can earn reasonable lives, reasonable living, it's time for you to pay back. Tanko, if you gave me 5 naira, with the hope that I'll pay you next week, 2 days to next week, when I see you around my corner, I know you are reminding me before the day comes. Therefore, if the time comes and I can't pay, if I have the power, of course I can reduce, I can take my money from source. If someone gives you money to give me, yes, you take your money, but I've taken my 5 naira. That is exactly what the federal government is doing, going to a layman's economy. Therefore, if the state governments collect money from the federal government, it is right for them to use that money for what it's meant for. Did you collect in order to pay salaries? Did you collect for infrastructural development? Yes, you do all of that. But again, in terms of this money, where there are no conditions, when you give something, there would be what we call conditions for payment. Exactly. So all those terms, if they are broken, of course, the higher authority will come to bear. So if you go to court and the court says, look, did you or did you not collect this money? Yes, you collected. Are you not supposed to collect? Did the federal government say it's a dash? No, they just said, look, bail out. I'll bail you out for this period. It's just a kind of, in economy they call it quick fix. You have a problem, so you take this, solve that, and bring back my money.
All right. Yeah, we are seeing also another shocking revelation here. We are learning that 3,125 people were killed, 2,703 abducted in 11 months. That's according to a report. There's apparently people who are not happy, with this trend, in the country. So with regards to the state of insecurity in the country, are we really matching our words with action, and are we taking the necessary steps that needs to be taken?
Well, honestly, Tanko, you see, that number might even be a conservative number, because we're a country so short of statistics. And what about those who are also killed by HIV/AIDS, malaria? Look at, some very little things that would have been solved by Nigerian government. You don't see them resolved. Now, look at a situation where you wake up, instead of you to hear companies are being commissioned here and there, projects are being commissioned here and there. When you hear the headline about 50 people have been killed, the next thing is for you to just ask, where this time around? It's like it's becoming a tradition. It shouldn't just be. Sanctity of life should just be it. And a situation where we're seeing invaders, kidnappers going into monarchs' palaces and grabbing royalty to receive money. Who are the people who give these blessings? These are the ones. Is it the religious? They are not spared. Is it the soft targets? Soft targets, you go to primary schools, kidnap babies, and all you want is money. They give you this money, you want to use it to also protect your own children. The contradiction is just that too much. And when a group says they've been neglected in Nigeria, then you don't unleash your frustration on your fellow innocent people. If there should be, people should come to the round table, discuss some of these things. These kidnappers, many of them have always been caught, and they say, look, they've been sponsored. So who are these sponsors? It's left for security agencies via their intelligence to begin to work and see who indeed are these sponsors. Then you also look at the sources of these arms. When you're talking of ECOWAS, they say economic community of West African states. You just need a community like a village. I don't have to take permission to enter your house, enter your compound, enter this, in as much as I'm not a nuisance in your house or even your sitting room or bedroom,
to address, the whole security challenges, some elites have suggested that there should be some form of review of the 1999 Constitution.
Absolutely, I saw that in Ghanaian Adams. But you see, the Constitution actually is not the problem, it's the operator. The phone you have, you can use it positively, you can use it negatively.
Isn't the Constitution the problem, especially when people talks about the federal system that we operate in Nigeria? Some of them are saying, look, largely if you look at the roles that the local government, for instance, plays, it has been reduced to almost nothing. It doesn't do anything because it doesn't have responsibilities, that, on it as much as it should. So, for instance, people are talking about taking off some things, some items on the exclusive legislative list, putting it on the concurrent list, just so that states can be more viable, so that they can engage more, so that they can also, do some things, take control of their communities and all of that. So if you look at that, don't you think that is an argument that
concerning that aspect, I have no problem. Yes, let the local governments have their financial autonomy, their political autonomy too, so that they can employ people instead of people looking to turning their faces to state governors who indeed are also turning their faces to the federal government. I have no problem with that. But when the civil war ended, for God's sake, Gowon brought the 3 R's: reconciliation, reconstruction, rehabilitation. The eastern part of the country is still saying that they are lagging behind. Now, this is not the issue of our constitution. The thing is our mindset. There are times we just feel that so area, no, we don't need them. So area. I mean, it is a federation. For God's sake, you have 10 fingers, each 5 on your hand, and which finger is the most useless? There is none. They all are 5. Each has its own function for you. All the parts of your body. Which one will you say, oh, which one will I lose? My ears, my eyes, my nose, my mouth, my tongue? No, they all belong to you. That's how God created you, so that you are a complete human being. But in a situation whereby we feel that some areas, you see, there are big fights. Nobody bothers about them. In some areas, yes, you pretend there are, as if there is no life lost, so to speak. It's not really the issue of the constitution per se, but honestly, the thing of the mind. Okay. Everything is being politicized. Everything. Water supply, fertilizer, and all that.
Okay. In addition to that, there's also calls for declaration of state of emergency. The governor of Sokoto State is re-echoing that. Again, he's urging the president to declare state of emergency on terrorist enclaves. What will be your standpoint on this? Do you think that that's the way to go?
Yes, that's the way to go. But when you say you declare a state of emergency, or you want it, just like the Katsina State governor once said, look, arm yourself and fight these terrorists. T.Y. Benjamin said it long before then. He was almost being crucified. But time has come. Governors are saying, fight these people. But they can't fight with just their tongues. These people are armed, So if you feel that you declare a state of emergency on security or insecurity or against the terrorists, yes, so be it. But in doing so, also begin to have what they call the community policing. Train these people, arm these people, you know them. And when you know them, they also know the bushes. They know their terrains. When these people are moving from Kebbi, these ones are moving from Niger State, these ones are moving from Kaduna State, this one Sokoto, Zamfara. Of course, you know their territorial boundaries. And by the time you do a coordinated, one single kind of approach, one-stop kind of a thing, you see that you make it. That is how I would just define my own state of emergency on terrorism. You don't just say the president declare and he sits in the villa and says, I hereby declare, and thereafter what? So if you declare, yes, which I support, arm the people you want to train, the civil populace, you select them by whatever name. If you like, you call them KB Vanguard, Katsina Frontiers, just name it. They are legal, and therefore they begin to hold controlled items, AK-47, and that will make it legal, and that is will make them to also face these people. It's because once people hear the sound of an AK-47, of course they know that these people have come. I will not forget my going to some areas in Borno Yobe when at the early area at the times of Boko Haram, when they struck. There were times these Boko Haram guys will mount loudspeakers with tape recorders with sounds of AK-47, pa 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 pa, and once they on that, put the volume very high, people will start running, believing that, yeah, these people have come, not knowing that it was just to scare them away. And I tell you that an armed robber, if he knows you are armed, of course, is also very careful. I support this. Let there be that declaration that these bandits are terrorists. And in doing so, also arm the civil population, train them legally, and of course, it's going to be a thing of the past. And when that is going on, this stick and carrot approach must be there. It's always not the kinetic force. No, there are some, if they see an opportunity, just like the repentant Boko Haram members, they say, look, they were coerced, they were forced, they were recruited, they had no option but to follow. Now they've seen the light. So if you have those people and some are ready to also fight on your side, of course, again,
that also, just before we round up, brings me to another issue of, how important, are these surrendered Boko Haram members are to us in intelligence gathering? Are they helping? Are they giving? What kind of information are they giving our security forces? And isn't it helpful? Because, to go by that, we should be able to see some successes recorded, based on the intelligence provided by these persons who have repented.
Yeah, you see, many of them who repented did so genuinely. and you could see them dodging to surrender to the army, even with their with members of their family, and they provide very useful information. But the army is also not too happy, or the defense authorities are also not too happy. If you check, there was a time they said some of the militants were rejecting meat slaughtered by people who are not former members of Boko Haram, which means that repentance is like
it's questionable.
I mean, it's questionable. One snake that is lying down, green snake in green grass, waiting to strike. So in terms of sifting to know who indeed is genuine, the military authorities will have to check all of that. But again, many are still offering useful information, which are being used by the intelligence authorities, and that will also, in terms of map reading, they tell them camps where these people are, even though some of them they begin to move here and there. And the good thing that we also see is when the Islamic State of West African province, ISWAP, when they begin to clash with Boko Haram, they kill themselves. That is also, we expect that when those fights are going on, it's at that point that the military should just strike. I remember seeing a video clip where two antelopes were busy fighting. Then some lions just stood by, and quickly they swooped on them, and of course the two were gone. So if the military indulges or engages or imbibes that kind of approach, I think so be it. When they know these people are clashing, it's the time they should clash too.
It looks like we have to stop there. It's been quite, interesting getting to review some of the stories on our dailies this morning. Thank you so much for coming on the program. We've been speaking with Ben Shemang, a director training from the Voice of Nigeria. Let's take a quick time out. When we come back, the show continues. Stay with us.